Okay, now this is going to be a little bit of a test. Ooh. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. Hi! Now the big question is, can you actually hear me from over there? That is something I don't know. I've got myself a little bit of a funky setup going on so I can actually see the live chat, in theory, as it goes through. Yeah, I know the battery's low. But hopefully we'll be able to do something worthwhile with this. Right, periodically I'm going to have to step out of view so I can remind myself of what the next steps are. And I think that's yeah, that's going to be pretty fine. So, what we have got. Pull this out. Hello, Amos. You're coming along to help me, are you? As long as you don't eat things, that's absolutely fine. Right. So I've got some copper wire, which I'm going to be laying out in approximately the outer rings for the main outer section of the arc reactor. And with that, I'm hoping that I'm then going to be able to connect up the LEDs to it. Hang on, let me sit down just over here for a moment. If I move this down, then I've got two chairs to be able to move between. Then I'm hoping I'm going to be able to connect up the LEDs, test to make sure that they're working fine. If they're working fine, then I can start soldering them in place. But to start off with, I need to make 2 copper rings for them to act as the various electrodes. Wallafried, can you hear me okay when I'm sat over to the left? Do let me know if I'm too quiet. Amos, of course, is trying to help out. Unfortunately, because of the position of the webcam, you're not going to be able to see massively well how the actual crafting itself goes. You're not helping, mate. Down you go. But unfortunately, I can't reposition it from where it is, so we're slightly limited in that. Right, now I need to get this unhooked without actually injuring myself. Artisan copper wire my ass. Right, is that loosened enough? Can I start? Yeah, okay, that totally makes sense. I can talk up a little bit while I'm over here. The microphone's generally quite good, so it should pick stuff up. It's just obviously I don't want to shout massively. And I'll remember to talk a bit quieter when I come closer. Alright. Copper wire. I mean, I could just cut it, but I don't want to waste any because I am miserly like that. On the plus side, that unspooled quite quickly. On the plus side, this copper wire is probably going to be perfect for what I need. So let's get 2 things of approximately the right length. That's about right. And then once I've got them to the right size, in fact, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use one of the bangle holders that I bought in order to just make sure I'm not getting too much or too little. Tin snips, very useful. Actually, they're aviation tin snips. Used for cutting sheet metal, which we'll be doing a little bit later. And yeah, they're really, really powerful, quite accurate. And all in all, very, very glad I have them. And we'll do this second one just slightly less, because it doesn't need to be quite as big. trim that to there, then that'll let me make 2 proper rings with it. Now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to solder the ends of this together and probably stick them down in a circle, but that can wait for a moment. I've still got plenty of copper wire left over to do the wrappings on the arc reactor itself. But for now, where did I put them? We have the LEDs. Now I've not actually used these before, so firstly I need to figure out if they need to come out of this. I think they do. Yeah, I need to release them from their bombs, and then from there I can do some little soldering. There we go, tiny peel back. In fact, I'm going to need the battery holder as well, which is just in my jacket, so I'll grab that in a second. Exactly, it's quality time, and not only that, I'm experimenting as I go with this. So there is going to be a hell of a lot of learning and trial and error. And I'm going to bring this over to show. These are the LEDs. And this is an individual one that you may just be able to see on the tip of my thumb. They're tiny, they're tiny. I have the worst fine motor control. So testing this is going to be fun. Battery holders. In order to try and make this as thin as possible, I've gone for the flat batteries. Oh, that's totally fine. That's totally fine, Wallerfried. Tips are not required. As it is, I'm totally figuring stuff out as I go. And if this doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But I'm really hoping it does work. Right. So the battery holder is quite convenient in that it's got little bits of wire ready to go on it. So I can actually just load this up, I think, with a battery. How the hell does this open? Nice and secure, these things, of course, to make sure the batteries don't come out. Maybe I'll try one of the others. Came in packs of 3, so I do want them to be relatively straightforward to open up when it comes to the event itself, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to change the batteries over. Oh, have I got to push it all the way in? No, that won't be the case. Oh, well, oh, it's got an on-off button, I see. Well, that's sort of clever. So all this to test to make sure that it's going to work. Okay, now which way around does this go in? This just on top. Feels a bit rattly. Unless it's supposed to take 2, but no. No, it just needs that extending out, I'm sure. And then when that pushes down, I see. So that's going to apply. So there's a little angled bit of metal which you stretch out over the battery, and that provides just enough oomph, for want of a better way of putting it, to apply pressure to the battery itself, and that will hold it in place so now it doesn't rattle. That's fine. Oh, is that only 3 seconds? It should be 30 seconds. I'll double check that in a moment. It's probably Restream has just updated something. So this is me trying to test the battery slash LED. Neither of those seem to work, but it could be it relies on that. So let's try again. Yay! Can you see the light? If not, I'll try and bring it a bit closer. Helping just a little bit. Right, now, is that flashing because that's the way this works, or because that's the way the LED works? Because I really hope these aren't flashing LEDs. Oh, hello Amos. Yeah. Yeah, that's constantly flashing, which makes me worry a little bit, but you're not really helping much. Right, down you go. Let's have a look at the computer, and I'll just remind myself what I ordered. Okay, so 1206 SMDs. Oh, it could just be that it's getting too much oomph through it. So 1206 SMD. Just making sure he's not licking anything. That's cool if you saw it. I'll be back on camera in just a moment, but for the moment I'm sure Amos can keep you entertained. Hmm. 24/7 cat stream, yeah, something like that. Oh. Surface mount LED blue. It doesn't say anything about flashing. I mean, as far as LEDs go, they're supposed to be solid, but that could just be the battery holder. But I can test that separately. Okay, so I'm reasonably happy that that's going to be doing what it's meant to be doing then. We can test one other way. Let me just bring my destructions back up. Back. Okay. put that there so I don't lose it. And I'm going to get some electrical tape. And where is that plug? We're going to get these copper rings actually as rings. That's a little bit too small. Use the bangle just to start off with. And it's about the right position. This is the long one. Yeah, this is the long one. Okay. So I'm trying to make the copper ring as circular as possible, which is going to mean straightening out some of this bit right at the end, because it's just a little bit janky angled. And I can snip off a little bit more as well, just to round that out. Now these aren't actually going to be seen, so they don't need to be super neat and tidy, but they are going to be carrying, come on, trim it off, there we go. They are going to be carrying the electricity, so I do want them to at least be safe in what they're doing. And from these, I have wires which I'm going to then use to connect up to the battery and the LEDs themselves. Right, now this is going to be my throwaway bits, because as much as Amos is nice and helpful, I don't want him eating any bits of copper. Right, soldering iron. Should warm up quite quickly. It's been a while since I've used it, but it should still work fine. Yeah, while that's warming up, I'm going to tape this down, I think. If I'm talking too quiet at all, then do let me know. When I'm thinking, I tend to mumble a little bit. So I'm using electrical tape to tape the copper down so that it will hold it in place while I solder it. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be in approximately the right place. And then we'll do the same with the other one. That is not actually getting hot at all. That's not good. Soldering kind of requires a functional soldering iron. Okay, let's try directly into the plug itself. And after that I can check to see if there's any fuses that I have spare. Smells like it might be warming up. Yeah, that's getting there. Okay, cool. So I've got to wait for it to get to the suitable temperature. And then we'll put just a little bit of flux on this. Do our best to hold it in place. In fact, I might trim off the excess now. Just so that we get a nice sealed end to it when it's done. Tin snips go back over there. A little bit of excess cut goes into our bag of bits so the cats don't eat it. And we are about ready to try this. Now this is going to be finicky as hell, but hopefully, with a little bit of persistence, it'll work. And someone is messaging me on my phone at the moment. I kind of want to find out what it says, but I've got to get this done first. And that is bending in just the wrong way. Working with wire that's got a memory of where it wants to sit is always a little bit problematic. Nearly there though, nearly there. Bloody hell. I remember soldering being a lot easier when I was younger. Maybe it's the angle. Admittedly, I've got the cord trailing and I've got all kinds of things I can blame it on. Come on, just melt it. Melt it and stick it, or I'll do it with electrical tape. That's the other thing. If you threaten your work, then that tends to make it improve. Yes, really, this isn't holding it quite the way I wanted it to. Right, let's see what those messages were. And once again, back to the attempted soldering. So the problem I'm facing at the moment is it's shifting as I'm trying to hold it in place. And I can't hold both sides of it effectively and solder at the same time. Really, I need an extra set of hands. And unfortunately, the cats aren't in a position to help. Nearly got it. Crying out loud. Okay, let's put this down and we'll try and re-secure it better. That looks like a reasonable place. Let's try this again. So this could take us a long time just with the soldering. Right, I'm thinking for the outer rings, electrical tape is going to be the way to go. We can still do the soldering for getting the actual power onto it, but this will make it a lot easier to manage, and also save us some time. So in total, I've spent about £90 in UK money, but most of that was buying tools and things that I didn't already have. So it's hard to put an exact value on how much one would cost if you already had the equipment. Let's have half a strip of this. Even this is going to be finicky, isn't it? I can see it now. I'm just rebending the copper around so that it's sitting happier. That's a lot happier actually. So now we can possibly, if we're lucky, just secure it in place. Now I don't want to put too much electrical tape on this because I am going to have to connect up the LEDs to it. So doing a little bit is not really a problem. Fine. Let's start with a fresh piece. That was getting too small and too sticky. What did you get that forces you to spend even more money? Is that going to be too big? Possibly. Hopefully not. Let's try half a piece. Really, I should get some scissors, but this should be fine. Also, I should probably work towards myself rather than away from myself. unfortunately, this stuff is really quite sticky, so it sticks to me as much as it sticks to the things I'm trying to do. And that's not gone the way I wanted it to, and it's come off. Frustrating, frustrating. Oh no. Well, PUBG is a lot of fun, and you can have the settings really, really low and get a very enjoyable game out of it. So you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money on it, on new hardware and stuff, if that's what you're thinking. You stay still. You go there. Right, now I can... Where's my knife? Now I can fold that over. And then start wrapping. That is wrapping around, not wrapping like a musician. Now this is not necessarily going to hold forever, but it will do for now. It will do for now. Although I would much rather it was soldered. Much, much rather. Like maybe I should try doing it straight onto the desk rather than onto the paper. So if I stretch that ever so slightly, I think really what I want is, I could actually use the metal sheet. Let's pull that across and we'll have a go with that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Right. So the metal sheet that I've got is really cool because they cover it with a film to make sure it doesn't get knocked up or dinged or anything. But that film is firstly green, so it's going to need to come off anyway. But secondly, it would melt horribly, so I'm not going to do any soldering directly near it until I've got it off. There we go. The other thing I could try is blue tack to hold it in place, but I don't actually know where my blue tack would be if I have any left. Right, let's try this solder one more time. Very careful positioning. And all because this copper is a pain in the ass. let's try sticking the copper down to this, because that is getting on my nerves. There we go, that should stop it moving. I'm surprised that your PC struggles though, because you can do Diablo 3 at a good resolution at a good frames per second and still record it. So I'd expect that that's got all your requirements right there. Now this solder's not actually melting, it's just almost evaporating completely without leaving anything worthwhile. No, I'm calling that a dive. That's true. Diablo is quite well optimized. So the copper's not taking to the solder that I have particularly nicely. We do have another option. We've got a hot glue gun. So I may just do a spot of hot glue in order to hold it in place. Let's unplug the soldering iron and put that just to the side. And we can get this thing plugged in instead. And because it's glue, it should just hold it in place. Little miniature hot glue gun. Hey there, Dark Shadow. We're doing an arts and crafts thing today. Right, in fact, rather than plugging that straight in, let's plug in the tablet first, assuming I don't screw up the plug socket. And then I can plug in on the top of that. And the light's not coming on. maybe the top plug of my thing's gone. That's always possible. I know it'd suck, but... yeah, maybe the fuse has gone in the adapter itself. Yeah, that's working. Okay. It's going slowly. The electronic side is finicky and difficult. We've tested one of the LEDs. One of the LEDs definitely works. And now I'm just working to secure the copper rings that I've got. And I've got a miniature hot glue gun for this. I don't know how quickly these things heat up, but I'm assuming it's quite fast. Tiny dab of hot glue just at the end. And really I want to secure it before it starts unsetting. So let's do it on this. Come on, stay together. Put a nice big dollop on it. And we can peel this away. And hooray, that's not massively terrible. I mean, it's not brilliant, but it will do the job. It will hold it together in a ring. So let's do the other one quickly as well. Now this one's even less ring-like at the moment. And it needs to be an inside part of the track. Yeah, it may not be the most entertaining on a gaming side, that's for certain, but it's a spot of electronics, a spot of crafts. It could be alright. It could be alright. And I do hope it works out. I really do. Right, actually, let's check. Does this fit inside? It almost does. So maybe I should actually trim that down a tiny bit more. Yeah, I think that's going to be sensible. So strip the glue off. And get it tucked in, and we'll see what we need to lose. I think we need another ½ centimetre gone. So, tin snips. And then we can just re-glue that. Tiny blob of hot glue. Squidge it down. Mess that up. Let's try that again. I should really do it in the air like this. And then I just need to actually hold it in place properly until it sets. There we go, that's much better. Oh, why didn't I do this earlier? Yeah, and also if the cats come over to help, then you get to see the cats as well. But at the moment, they're around somewhere. In fact, one of them's on my computing chair and the other one's in the cat bed next to the computer desk. Right, so that's that one appropriately sized. Let's put that out the way. Happy with that. This one needs to trim down quite a lot. And I think let's start bending this around a little bit more, all the way around. Yeah, something like that to start off with. So we're losing quite a lot of copper on this. But that's okay, because it's not needed. This is just for us to actually be able to carry the circuit. Okay, that looks about right, I think. Hard to tell specifically, but it's all a bit of guesstimating. And if we get the other ring and put it down, this one should sit inside it, which it does. And that's nice. It's always good when things do what you're expecting them to. Right, let's carry on bending this up. I need to get these so that they nearly touch, and then I can do the gluing. That's probably close enough, actually. Yeah. Man, hot glue guns are amazing. Such a simple concept makes things so easy. Okay, so the rings themselves don't necessarily sit perfectly concentric circles, but they don't need to. We can readjust the actual bend on them now that they're actually in place. And try and get them so that they're actually circular. Yes, Greg. Unfortunately, the sound is quite distant because I can't get a microphone closer to the crafting area. As for an angle on the desk itself, that's as close as the webcam can get. So periodically, I'll bring stuff across and I'll show progress on it. I just want to get this in place, and then I can tape it down and bring it over to show. I do need to talk up a little bit though. You're entirely right. So at the moment the copper rings that I've got, they're quite circular, but they're not as circular as I'd like them to be. They're slightly oval shaped. So I'm just trying to even that out so it can sit nicely on the design printout that I've got. And then the same for the second one. And some of that's because it's twisted as it's come off the spool itself, and some of it's just because I've had to bend it into shape against its natural curve. So I'm also ensuring as much as I can that it's flat, so that when we actually move it on to the next bit, it will be quite well suited. Right, let's tape this in place. And I'll show you what we have at the moment. That can sit just there. Of course, that's gone and shifted as I've put it down. It's always the way. Come on, across, across. Close enough. Okay, so you can see that the two copper rings sit just inside the main plan. The main plan itself, I'm going to be using the bangle guide. I'm going to be filling it with epoxy, and that's going to sit on top of this. So the LEDs themselves are going to sit between these rings, and those rings themselves are going to be connected to the battery holder, and that's going to supply power to all of the LED ring at the same time. So getting these sized up first was possibly the most important thing that we've had to do. Right, I can check the next bit. Okay, so right, so on the design itself, the LEDs are going to be sitting directly in the black spaces, which is where the transformers effectively are on the arc reactor itself. If I pair this off again, I can re-stick it in the right places so that that makes our future a lot easier. The other thing that we have is we have varying size keyring holders. And part of the arc reactor is the main centerpiece. I'm going to come over and I'm going to show you this again. And the plan for that is to have two different sizes of keyring actually sitting in the middle of that, and then they're going to have a bit of mesh across them, and that's going to be painted and styled, and that's going to end up being raised up as part of this central pattern bit. So we're going to need 10 LEDs per, or for the arc reactor ring itself, one per transformer section. Squish that down a tiny bit more. The other thing is, as much as I want to make progress on this, I don't want to rush my way through it and end up making any foolish mistakes. Yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with that as a ring. It does need a little bit more compression in that side. Sorry, I should remember to speak up as I'm going through this. It's still looking a little bit overly or oval-like, so I'm just constantly readjusting it to get it as circular as possible. Right. I'm happy enough with that one. Let's do the inner one. Inner one needs to come in a bit on that bit, I think. Okay, that is much better, and I'm happy enough with that I'm going to take a photo of it as a progress photo. Hey there, man. Hope you're having a good day. Now, we've already tested the battery holder and one of the LEDs. If I, oh god, of course that's got a sticky on it, doesn't it? Right, come here. I put that there, and we're going to find out this is the one with the battery in. I should put batteries in all of them just so that there's no ambiguity. Is it that way or is it the other way? Oh my god, this thing jumps around so much. I'm going to have to open them up to find out. Alright. Let's open you up and have a look. Damn things are really hard to get open. Alright, this is the one that's actually got it in. Make sure that I haven't busted anything. Okay. And hopefully that's on. This was working before. Makes me wonder whether we've drained the battery. Let's have a look. Try swapping it over for a different one just in case. In it goes. That comes across. Because I think I may have had it touching the metal sheet that I'm working on, which could very, very easily suck the life out of it. Okay, I'm going to assume that it's the battery holder not putting enough pressure on the top. So let's try and pad that out somehow. Right, that's too sticky. Let's get some folded paper in. Because if it's not actually making contact with the battery itself, it's never going to transmit the charge. So what did you do on Saturday, Xander? Well, I stuffed a battery holder with paper. Probably enough for me to test it. Let's have a look. Or it could be this LED itself is unhappy. Let's try this way up. Okay, I'm not trusting this battery holder at all. It's definitely not the best design, because of the way it's trying to secure everything in place. In fact, yeah, even if that slides too far that way, it doesn't actually fit in. So maybe I should be holding it this way up. Okay. Other method of testing. I have wires which I'm going to be using for connecting up to the LEDs themselves. I can trim a couple of these down just so that I can test out the battery properly. In fact, I have some proper cable tools, so I'm just going to get them. And let's just trim this down a bit. Right. This is the point where electrical tape comes in handy again. Manual testing. So that is now nice and secure. Let's just untangle these. My word, these are terribly tangled. Through. And you're up there. And then down that way. Back down there. Right, so the white is, sorry, the red is sorted. Just need to untangle the black from it. Nearly there. Round and round and round it goes. Right. Once again, we trim these down. And then we can test the LED again. Now, LEDs can only go in one direction. There we go. So that was a dodgy as hell battery holder that we had. Okay. Positive is definitely yeah. Definitely on the side without the little green ding. That's good to know. So that is our test position. It's going to be good fun. Now we can work on soldering the LEDs themselves. That is, if we want to do that as our current thing. Let's just go on to power saving mode. Let's get the hot glue gun unplugged, and I'll get my tablet plugged in again so I can carry on reading chat. And cheers for the critique, Greg. I don't know if you're still there. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, now if I just move that battery out of the way, over this side we have some PVC pipe holders. These are actually pretty good because the size of that is perfect for what we need. I've also got some balsa wood here, which we're going to be using as the actual back plate, which the LEDs are then going to sit on. So the next task is going to be tracing around the inside and then cutting out the back plates for that. So I'm just going to get a pen or pencil, depending on what I can find. And then using that, we will mark out the wood. And then the wood's going to need to be painted black. Of course, now I can't actually find any pencil. There's a pencil. The wood's going to need to be painted black. So that the LEDs stand out suitably from it. I'm going to get a couple of these cut out so that if we want, we can layer them, or we can make 2 arc reactors. Yeah, we'll have options. In fact, let's do it this side. We'll see how many we can fit in. Giving us a little bit of leeway for offcuts and the like. Nice. So we've got the areas marked. We probably could just go in with this actually. Let's see if I can actually get through. In one go. Not quite in one go, maybe in 2. And balsa wood is incredibly thin and easy to cut. But you do need to go over the same line a couple of times when it's this thick. I mean, it's certainly not the thickest balsa wood you can get, but it's going to be thick enough to actually hold the structure together. So all right, let's just be sensible. and we'll go through it relatively quickly with the saw instead. That does mean I'm going to have my back to the camera for a moment, so apologies. In fact, I'm going to step into the garden so I don't get sawdust everywhere, so I'll be right back. There we go, nice and quick, no fuss. And also no mess all over the floor. Now, I just cut out rough squares. I do need to size them down into the circular ones. I can do that now using the funky sharp knife. Dark Shadow, the Union flag behind me I've had since university. I've just always taken it with me. I mean, I'm in Great Britain. It's pretty cool. I mean, sometimes I use it as a tablecloth. Sometimes I just have it hanging on the wall there. It generally doesn't get a huge amount of use beyond that, but yeah, it's nice to have around. Right, I don't know how the best way to do this is, so we're going to try and see what works. That seems to work, as does this, okay. So I'm just tracing around that circle that I drew. It's not quite going all the way through the first time, but when I go over it again, I'm sure it will. And in fact, let's have the second offcut in the background, just so that I don't damage the table underneath. Yeah, just about coming through. Perfect. And the good thing about balsa wood is it's also incredibly light. So it's very easy to manipulate, even if you've got massive ham fists like me. You can still get something worthwhile and good out of it without needing massive grips and clamps and things like that. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm just getting rid of this top corner bit, and that will give us the flexibility to start cutting through and round as we go. That's about a quarter outlined. Let's take that piece off actually. Just tease it away. There we go. No, I'm not going to make a suit, Dark Shadow. Just the chest piece for the Comicon. The time and expense to make a suit would be quite extreme, I think. And I've already got plenty of things that take up my time. This is a bit of a special occasion, I'd say. You know, kind of like a one-off, I'd say. It's not something I'm going to be doing all the time. But I thought because it was something that was a little bit unique, it'd be cool to share it with you guys. Right, and as you can see, I'm just going around cutting out the circle. It's not particularly fast going, but you know, it's better to be accurate and slow than mess up massively. And we are going to do several of these, of course. It's always good to make spares, just in case. And that's almost gone through on this side, which is good. My tracing angles ever so slightly off as I'm going around. Almost through. And once I've done this, I'll just sand it off a little bit at the edges. It needs to be painted black, as I mentioned earlier, but that's easy to do because we've got spray paint, which we bought earlier today. Spray paint is remarkably cheap. That's something that I have to say. I thought it'd be like £12 a can, and it's £4 a can, so it's like a third of the price I thought it was going to be. There we go, we're about halfway through the first one. I'm going to do a couple of them just so that I've got two on the go. I should have really brought the bin over here with me. And I've got my little bits bag, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I do love working with balsa wood. Back in my days of playing Warhammer 40,000, you could do so much landscaping with balsa wood, much easier than working with paper mache and stuff. But we used to improvise with everything we could get our hands on. Yes, she is going to join me at the Comicon. I don't know if she's going to wear a costume. And if she does, it's going to be a surprise anyway, because I did ask her the same question if she was going to dress up. And she said she had some ideas, but she was going to see if it would work. And so it's going to be a bit of a mystery. I like surprises. And even if she doesn't dress up, she's going to be coming along with me, which will be good fun. Right. First one made. That fits in quite nicely. I'm just getting some sandpaper from off camera. I won't be a second. And this is just for smoothing down the rough edges. There we go. Right. Now for this, how do the rings look on it? That ring is too large. Here's the answer. So we're going to need to trim it down just ever so slightly. Or I need to make these ever so slightly larger, is the other idea. Now because they've got to sit inside, yeah, that should just about fit. It's always tough trying to match and marry things up. The event is at the end of the month. So I've got a couple of weeks to try this and get it all figured out. If that's gonna sit there, yeah, it needs to be ever so slightly larger. How about, is that gonna be too large? That may be too large. No, that's going to be just right. Okay, we're going to have to do the outer side of this, not the inner side. So these aren't actually going to be able to hold it, but I have foam, which should work just as well. Okay, and this is why we run tests and trials. So I need to redraw. Yeah, it's a bit difficult because the choice is either do Halloween or do the Comicon, because there's not enough time to put like good costumes together for both, I'd say. So we'll try this one a little bit larger and see how it goes. In fact, before we cut it, yeah, that ring's going to be pretty spot on. First bit's cut. This one's actually going a little bit faster, but it depends on whether you're cutting with the grain or across the grain. And also experience does a lot for helping. Now that I've done one, I know roughly what pressure I can apply in order to go through successfully. There we go, that was a lot faster to take off that section. I'm a bit old for Halloween trick-or-treating. So, the unfortunate truth is the unfortunate truth. Let's take that off. I slipped a little bit with this, so we've got one indentation that's just in the wrong place, but I can cut around it, so that's fine. I just have to be careful to make sure I don't make it worse / deeper. There we go, another bit cut off. This bit's very, very smooth. Oh, we don't do that in the UK. If a kid was to try and cover your house with toilet paper, they would get arrested. There might be trick-or-treaters that come around. Generally, I turn the lights off and don't open the door. I'm not expecting to give sweets out. I don't like kids. Right, there we go. That one is larger. Let's once again just get the rough edges off it. And those two rings sit quite nicely in it. Right, let's have a look and see how it actually sits with this. Yeah, that is too big there. It sort of sits in the top part sits very well in the top part, but I don't like the inner ring of it. That is the difficulty. So I think we're not actually going to use this for framing. We'll need to come up with another option, which will probably end up being the foam. Haha, Wallerfried, turning off the doorbell is a nice idea. It doesn't prevent people knocking, but it certainly helps. It certainly helps. Right. Now, I'm just going to say, where is that tiny LED? There it is. I should put this somewhere that it doesn't get lost. Let's put it on there for now. And we're going to get another one of these larger ones done. That's not quite got enough space. Actually, was it? It was the outside I did, so it's got just enough space. Perfect. Where did I put the pencil? There's the pencil. This one is a very tight one. Nice curving action. I'm going to get very good at cutting circles by the end of this. A little bit more to go up here. There we go. That gets us all the way around to there. Cool. Nice fast progress. Dark Shadow, we've got different names for places that have a small number of houses. I think once you hit like 2,000, then it's a town rather than a village. But when you get down really, really small, there's like hamlets, which is just like a cluster of 5 or 10 buildings together. But yeah, there's specific names for the specific like number of buildings. Everyone needs a trusty axe when answering the door. Right, that is the difficult edge bit done. That's going to bring us back round here. Yeah, that'll do. Just tear a chunk off and hope it fits the pattern you've got. And this is probably enough that I can just take that off and then just cut this last little bit and then tiny bit of sanding. And this will be as good as the other one. Cool. And we've now got 2 balsa wood bases. Don't want that to turn off. Yeah, that's the thing. If everyone speaks the same language, you can't really do the creepy dialect when it's the local dialect. Okay. So we've got the bases. These need painting black. So I have some black easy spray paint. I'm just going to pop out into the garden and take care of these quickly, so I'll be back in just a moment. Right, that's all done. It dries pretty quickly, so I should be able to bring them in just a moment. Actually, looking at them, they're going to need to sit for a couple of minutes, and then they're going to need another coat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the inner part and the actual mesh that we're going to try and make. So let's come over here with this. With this design, part of it is the little central rings that I showed you. I bought some fly netting, which I'm also going to spray paint black, and I'm going to take a section of that and sandwich it between two of the key rings. That's going to give us a nice little black mesh. And if I paint the key rings as well, paint them silver, then that will offset and give like a nice contrast to it. So I'm just going to prepare to do that. I could only find the insect net in white for the UK. At least with the right like pattern that I needed for it. Yeah, okay, that's what we're gonna do. So. Yeah, the pattern itself, if I hold it up, you probably can't see the details specifically on it. But once this is black, and then there's the frosting and the blue light coming through behind it, it will make a huge difference to the overall look of the piece. Right, so I'm gonna pop out and get this sprayed, and then I'm gonna get some of the smaller keyring bits sprayed up in silver as well. That'll be. In fact, I probably only need the one. Right, that's the black redone. Now to do the silver. I'm sorry I can't take the webcam outside, and well, it's just not safe to do spray painting indoors. Certainly not good for me, not good for the cats. paint gets everywhere. Right, that should be all the painting that I need to do for the moment. I'm just going to wash my hands off and I'll be right back. Yeah, still got paint all over my hands, but that's fine. Okay, right. So the next bit we're going to do is we're going to start on the actual ring itself. Now this is something that's going to need to happen overnight. So this can't actually all be done in one sitting. But what I've got is I've got resin and hardener, which I'm going to be mixing up and then pouring into the mould, and that will set overnight and give us the nice plastic ring which the light's going to shine through. Then tomorrow I'm going to go over that with sandpaper just to roughen up the edges and make it a bit diffused. Okay, so let's get something to actually mix this up in. Gloop, 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 gloop. Right, and I'm going to want something to stir it with. Well, actually, we can use a bit of this, can't we? So I want to pour until I get down to about there. A little bit more. Get this all mixed together. And once I'm happy it's suitably mixed, we pour it into the mould. That is pretty good. We do have another mould, so we're going to take advantage of that. Let's tip that out. if there's not quite enough, which it looks like there may not be, we can make up a tiny little bit extra. Yeah, we're going to need a little bit extra. That's fine. It only needs a splodge. There's a splodge of that. And a splodge of that. Give them a very quick mix together. And for those of you that have never used stuff like this before, it's a binary liquid. So it comes in two parts, which is the resin and then a resin-like substance which acts as a hardener, and that creates a chemical reaction which turns the resin itself from a liquid to a solid. And individually, neither of them will set. I mean, they'll gradually evaporate over time. But the hardener, when combined with the resin, is what makes the magic happen. Indeed. And because it is a binary liquid, I'm going to wash this out now, because if I don't wash it out now, I won't be able to wash it out later. Okay, that's that all taken care of. Now, I also don't want the cats getting anywhere near this, so I'm going to put these over here. Where they can sit quite happily overnight. I can put this back in here. So as you can see, I've still got loads left of the resin and hardener, so we could make many more bangles if we wanted. Put that on the shelf for now. But there's no need for us to do that. Now, I don't know if there's a great deal more that we can do at the moment on this until they're ready. So what I might do is I might spend a bit of time tidying up and then switch over to playing some games for a bit. Let's just check this out. Is that? Yeah, that can just be chucked. Be gone, foul ring thing. Don't need that. Inevitably, everything that you buy comes with a bunch of stuff that you don't actually need. I think I'll keep that one for stirring stuff, should I need it. This can all go. It's all like tidying as you go as well. I'll tear that off. Yeah, these battery holders, I think probably the most useful thing on them is going to be the wires. I'll try the others in case they can actually work effectively, but it was a little bit disappointing. In fact, let's see if we can get that to work now, because we're not wasting any time by doing this. Just wiping up tiny, tiny bits of resin and hardener. Okay. So, copper ring, and the actual LED. That's where the lid was. So it's clearly pressing onto it. So it is getting some benefit that way. So how does the other connect? Oh, the other connection gets made underneath. So that's fine. So as long as it's squeezed between these, it should be fine. Okay, well, we can try and find out. Right. Let's try one of the other battery holders. We do have our alternative solution, should we need it, but I'd rather have something that actually has a clip on it. You know, I just get the feeling it'll end up being more reliable overall. Yeah, games is a maybe. Games is a maybe. In a little bit. I mean, we're not going to be able to finish it today anyway because the resin has to set overnight. Maybe I should get in there with a screwdriver. Let's try that. Grab a screwdriver. And try and lever this thing over. That's the wrong one. That one will do. I'm going to find it's been sealed shut. I think that's what's the case. There we go. A bit longer to get it open, but it's open now. Let's give it a test, see if this is any better. So we're still getting flashing from this. Ah, there's different modes for it. Okay. So we can actually use this battery holder, and that actually puts me in a good mood because I can get it connected up to these copper rings. And then we just need to worry about getting the LEDs themselves connected. Okay, well, while we're getting it connected, there's no point in having the battery in there. So we know this one works. We don't know which is the positive or negative from this, so whichever way we go with, we're going to have to then just make sure that the various LEDs are connected in the same way in the future. Is that for PUBG, Wallerfried? Put this down here. I'll get this plugged in and connected up. Yeah, that is a shame. Now at the moment I'm waiting for the soldering iron to warm up so I can solder this battery holder to it. It's definitely worth giving it a try, even on low settings. feel it starting to warm up. It's just about there. I actually think I may need to clean the tip of this, I'm not sure. Alright, let's put it somewhere secure, just on there. I'm going to get some steel wool. Let's see if that improves things at all. It's entirely possible that my soldering iron sucks, and it always will. No, Amos, you can't help. I'm sorry. Don't. No, 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 no. Not while there's hot stuff up here, mate. Come on. Down you go. I know you want to. But it is not the right time right now. Yeah, I just needed to clean my soldering iron. That went so much smoother, that one. Okay. And that's good, because that makes me feel a lot better about the LEDs. And don't even think about it. Yeah, you can stay over there. I know. You want to be close to me. No! You gotta stay back for the moment, mate. I'm sorry. Meow indeed, guys. Meow indeed. Yeah, he just wants cuddles. Okay, maybe I need to come on top with this one. Let's try that. Balls. Screw that up. It's because I don't have any proper clamps or anything. Not to worry, we'll keep trying. But I've also de-ringed the copper ring. So let's take the hot glue off that. Right, this needs to go down. We'll try soldering this first, I think. No, that didn't work. I need fresh solder for it. Let's clean it off and try again. Put this over here. that a bit. Is that going to be enough? It looks like it might. Hey, finally. I can work on getting the second one of these in. All nice and secure. So we have our positive and our negative attached to our battery holder. These are going to get secured with electrical tape to the back when the back's done. Let me just unplug this soldering iron. And then the LEDs themselves are going to get soldered to those. And as we go along with each one, we can test them by putting the battery in and seeing if that's producing the anticipated effect. For the moment, I need to put this somewhere where the cat's not going to get at it. So let me just tidy it up a little bit. And I'm just going to have a quick look outside to see how things are drying. Okay, let's put that there now that it's cooled down a bit. Two black backs, looking pretty good, The silver isn't quite done. It's pretty close, but it needs a little bit longer. But we can bring it back in at least. Let's put that on there for the moment. Right, and this has got a nice black section which I can cut bits out of. I've also done the silver section just in case, and there's some really, really thick bits as well which I'm probably not going to use. But mostly that is all waiting for that silver bit to be dry. Yeah, these black bits have got a tiny, tiny bit longer to go as well. I could do another coat on them. But for what they are, I'm pretty happy all in all. And what we'll do is we'll hot glue these rings onto the board itself in the right places so that they don't make contact with each other, and then as the LEDs come in they will go around and do all that. Don't know whether it's better to have them going at the same point, or let's have a look at the design. Where's that design? Or to have them, I think probably having them separated so that I don't have to worry too much about masking them and where the LEDs are going to go. Right, we can get these hot glued in now. Let's do that. Start with the larger one. Stick going in a moment. It warms up pretty quickly, which is always good. Now the first one, it doesn't matter where we put it in here. We're going to do the first blob of glue directly over that connector and the second one directly over the other bit. So as soon as this warms up, pew 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 pew, that's what we'll be doing. Hands are covered in paint, of course, from moving everything back in. Xbox Live rewards. No, delete. Delete those. Don't need them, don't want to see them. Right, it's warming. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting closer. Lost that other. I know I put it just there, didn't I? Let's get this gone, because that's not helping at all. big splurge, get it all in, get it all done. Same there. Right, and let's assume that we're aiming it like that. We can do another one in this corner as well. And that will just nicely hold it in place for when we're soldering in the future. Now for this one, it's probably better if we turn it that way, and if we do it about in line with the one over there, we already know that that point isn't going to have an LED immediately underneath it. I want to try and pack it in as evenly as possible. So that is pretty good, and I will take a photo and I'll show you guys in just a moment once I've got it glued down. He's happy. He's happy. He doesn't need to move. You know, cats can actually sleep for about 16 hours a day. And most of their waking time, well, most normal cats' waking time, is spent grooming. You know, cleaning themselves. Right. Hot glue done. Let's put this back because we didn't actually use it. And put this down. There we go. I'll stand that up so that it doesn't ooze everywhere. That goes back in there. And you guys can see how cool this is looking. So we've got the outer ring, we've got the inner ring. I know there's not brilliant lighting at the moment, but the idea is we're going to put one LED just in the middle, and then there's going to be 10 dotted around the edge. Or 9 dotted around the edge, I don't know yet. And then once we've got those in position, and we've got the resin bits set and put on top, then we can do the foam and the copper bindings that go with it. But that has come along spectacularly. Is this still... No, that's not tacky. Cool. So that's probably ready to go. Maybe still do with a bit more time. Always hard to tell. Yeah, and I can tidy up the rings just a tiny bit in there. No one's going to see them, but of course we're going to know that they're there. And trim off the excess hot glue as it sets. Good job, Waller Free. That's awesome. Your ratio is very safe. When you're starting out, yeah, you'll either get pitted against people who are brilliant or terrible. And the brilliant ones are those that have just set up a new account. And the terrible ones are just terrible. Okay, so that was the lid that went with this. That's the battery that goes with it. This is the lid that goes with this, and we probably don't want that anymore, so... Or this one. Yeah, just not convinced that that one's doing what we want. So let's chuck this one away now. So we can't do the centre bit until this is hardened anyway. Let's see, how's that going? It's not too bad. And that's pretty good as well. Okay, so soldering on LEDs could be something we do now. Now we want to start with the center one. We're going to need some wires for this, so this is the point where we use these funky ones that we made. And we don't need that much, we only need enough to go from the anode to the cathode and across and so forth. So 2 at length, that will do. Now these are quite thick gauge wire, which may come back to haunt me, I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. So let's trim this off. And we'll trim this off. Plug in the soldering iron again, and we'll get this soldered onto the main ring. That's cooled down sufficiently, that's fine. I wish I could tell which way round it was. Actually, I may be able to. Maybe. No. No, I don't think so. We're just going to have to gamble. Which sucks a little bit, but I mean, what are you going to do? So normally when soldering wires, the first thing you want to do is you want to silver the wire, which is getting some solder onto the wire itself. So this is it's got lots and lots of individual threads, and that's hard to work with. So we're going to get some solder on it first of all, just to turn it into one bigger thread. And this is the point where clamps would come in very handy for holding things in the right places. that's definitely getting hot. It's good to check these things carefully. Come on, just a little bit more. I need my soldering board to do this. Don't know if that really counts as silvering, but it seems to have done the job. Let's clean the tip again. And see if we can get this in on here. Maybe I should actually be trying to get it underneath. Wouldn't be a terrible plan, but it would be a bit harder. But seeing as the hot glue is already holding it in, that would solve a large issue by itself. There we go. That'll do. It's not particularly pretty, but it'll work. It'll work. No, it won't. It's come off. It'll work. It'll work. No. I think I've got a bit too much exposed wire there, so let's trim that down. Having a bit less to work with is going to be better. There we go. That's one of the cables done. Let's trim the other one down about the same. I'm going to put those bits straight in the bin so the cats don't get them, because these are tiny, tiny metal shards now. Definitely don't want them eating those. Right, and this is going to go on the outer ring. Get my thumbnail just under here. Yeah, we can slide that in. Get the soldering iron. And that is secure. Okay. So now we can find out which is the anode and which is the cathode. Get that battery in there. And where did I put the lid for that one? Oh, it is this one. Okay, that's fine. So we've gone from a direct battery connection to batteries to the wires and then wires to the LED. That's what we're trying. Now, where did I knock that LED to? I thought it was right there. I really hope I haven't dropped it, because that thing is tiny. And it will be almost impossible to find. Let's check the table first, because that's the more sensible thing. Definitely not there, definitely not there. Definitely not underneath this. Damn. Right, let's unplug the soldering iron for a moment. Keep it up there though, so that it keeps cooling off. Yeah, it doesn't look like it was in there. Alright, that's I do have spares, but obviously I'd rather not waste any, so let's just have a quick feel around for a moment. Nope, that's a tiny bit of balsa wood. I know this is the highlight of your day, guys. I do apologise about this. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. No, I think we're going to have to use another one. Okay. And these things are super tiny. Once I'm done with this test, I think I'm even going to put it back. Okay. There we go. We've got light. And that is quite incredible. Because that means that the copper rings are working, that means that the wire itself is working, which I kind of expected it would. And yeah, I'm very happy with that. So I need to take the battery out and I need to get this soldered in. Let's just double check which side it is. I think I'm actually lucky and it is. No, we're the wrong way around. So the red goes to the green bit, which is fine. It's all about knowing. Once you know, then you can plan for it. So in order to get this soldered on, I'm going to have to do something like that, I guess. Yeah, red goes to the thin end. Okay, let's plug the soldering iron back in. We are tearing this hot glue apart. Okay, now I want to silver this first and then go for the LED, and then I'll do the same on the other side. take a photo of how it's going. And take photos of the various steps along the way as well, because I should have been doing this as I've been going. That should have hopefully given it enough time to heat up. Okay, so in with the silvering first. Let's try and get that position so I'm not making it jump every time I lean on it. I feel like I need tweezers for this. Okay, I'm going to get some tweezers. I think I have some nearby. Yeah. So I need more solder on the end here. There we go, that should be hopefully enough. Man, this thing is finicky. so finicky. Maybe if I get some solder on the end of this first, that will give me something that I can take into it. Balls. This is honestly not behaving the way I want it to. And this is the hardest part of it. Right, I need more solder on this. So close, but it didn't take. And maybe actually doing it in place is the thing to do. If I trim that down a little bit, that might make it easier. Hard to say though, really hard to say. So firstly, let's save that so I don't lose it. take the battery out of this? If not, I should have done. No, I didn't. Right, let's take that out just so I don't accidentally short it out. Trim a tiny bit of this. I'm going to trim a tiny bit of this. Try just soldering it straight on there. It's really, really tricky. Really tricky. I'm not going to give up just yet though. Oh, Amos has moved. I hear you, buddy. It's on, it's the tiniest connection. I'm going to add a little bit more solder to it. Woo! One side done. The other side is not going to be as easy, unfortunately. This cable is irksome. It is irksome. Almost had it. Almost had it for a moment. worried that I might be burning the LED as well. I think that is in place. Let's try and just make it a bit more encompassing. Nope, lost it, bugger. Almost had it for a moment. Oh, come on. Got it. Right. That was a lot of effort. A hell of a lot of effort. So, we're going to put the battery in and we're going to test it. Will you look at that? DS, I am very tired. I am very tired. So we know the LED works. Not convinced about the controller itself. But it does seem to be a bit of a weird one. I'm so happy that I managed to get the center one working. I need to figure out how to get it to stay on. But even if it just ends up being tearing the wires off this, I've got something that I can control now in order to test. ago, got one with the light on. I call it progress as well. This is more than I thought I was going to be able to get done. I'm honestly very happy with that. Right, so... Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Right, I'm happy that that's on and off. Yeah, it's a weird controller. I may just settle for wiring up my own. And it is just supposed to be a regular battery. That's the funny thing about it. Right, let's open this up. Right, there's just not enough pressure being applied from the inside. It's got 2 modes. That's what the issue is. Okay, well, I can fix that. And that's good to know now. I can fix that by bending that down like that. So that when the battery's in and it stretches out, it permanently makes a connection. Yeah, it is. That is dodgy as all hell. Okay, well, I can stuff the thing. That'll help. What could I stuff it with? I did have some paper and bits. And I want it to be so that there's constant pressure on it. So maybe even like some wadded cotton wool would do. But for the moment I can roll up some of this. probably doesn't actually need to be very much. So we'll try that. It's non-conductive as well, which helps. There we go. Not a bad start. Not a bad start. I think I'm going to get some beer. Right, so let me just unplug this soldering iron. It is 4:30 now. I'm going to stop there for a bit. I do need to take a break. But overall, I've been pretty happy with how this has gone. Next stages, we've got the outer LEDs that we need to solder on. That's probably going to take a number of hours, given how good I am at soldering. Once that's done, we've also we then put the resin molds on top, and then we can look at building the center part. And the center part is going to be some card cut out and some of the sheet metal styled down, and then the webbing stuff that we've got. I could possibly do a little bit more on that now. But I am going to take a break. So thank you very much for coming along. I do hope you've enjoyed this little crafting session that we've had going on. It's been a lot of fun, and you know, working out how everything's going to go and panning through it. I may do a similar one tomorrow if I carry on with it tomorrow. But otherwise, I'll be posting photo updates as I do bits and bobs as time goes on. But certainly, I can't do much more until the resin itself is set. So cheers for this, and maybe I'll see you later for some gaming. And I can move this back to where it normally sits.